15 rappers, 15 names, all born from an insult, a joke, or a total mistake. You've said these names out loud your whole life. You've felt them, but you don't know where they actually came from. A brother's threat, a mama's tease, a candy bar that caused a legal problem. This is the history nobody put in the article. Let's count it down. Number 15, Waka Flocka Flame. Here's one you think you know, but you probably don't know the full picture. Waka Flocka Flame, one of the most instantly recognizable names in the game. The kind of name that sounds like it was engineered in a lab to live on stage. That opening chant, Waka Waka, sounds dangerous, sounds powerful, sounds like a whole movement. It came from a stuffed bear, a children's cartoon bear. Joaquin Malfers was a kid watching Muppet Babies when his cousin noticed him. I walk around with pockets that are bigger than my bust. Fozzie Bear, the comedian bear who couldn't land a joke, had one catchphrase he leaned on every single time: Waka, waka, waka. And this kid sitting in front of the TV watching that bear, he watched so much that his cousin just started calling him Waka. Not as a compliment, as the kind of thing your family calls you when they're teasing you. The name a kid gets and can't shake. He added Flocka and Flame when the rap career started, but it all traces back to a stuffed bear and a bad joke. And you already know what happened next. That Waka went on to open one of the hardest albums of 2010, Flockavelli. Number 14, Too Short. You want to talk about owning what was meant to bring you down? Todd Shaw is the masterclass. He moved to Oakland from Los Angeles as a teenager, and when you hit high school at 5 feet 2 inches and your growth just stops, the streets notice, kids notice. And in Oakland, in the early 80s, they were going to say something about it. They called him Too Short, not behind his back, to his face, as a description of exactly what they saw, a kid who wasn't going to get much taller.
I know so much game in a Too Short rap. Can't be white and white.
Here's what's wild though. He didn't fight the name. He didn't try to reinvent himself as something bigger. He took it, made it his stage name in 1983, put it on his first independent tape, and sold those cassettes out of the trunk of a car across Oakland.
Tell 'em about it too short. So just peep the game and don't call it crap.
By 1988, Life is Too Short went double platinum. The name that was supposed to define his limits became the name he put on a platinum record. And just to close the loop, in 2022, Oakland renamed part of Foothill Boulevard in his honor.
Cars make love to stars. Never really seeing just who we are. We use aliens.
It's now called Too Short Way. If you've ever had someone put a ceiling on you with their words, you know exactly what it meant when Todd Shaw got that street sign.
Can't be black. Why you wanna act like someone else? All you gotta do is just...
Number 13, Big Pun. This one lands differently because it's not just about how the name was born, it's about what the name cost. Christopher Rios grew up in the South Bronx. He was a large kid, and as he got older, larger still. When he started rapping seriously, he needed a name that matched both his presence and his skills. He went with Big Pun, short for Big Punisher. The big that described his body. The pun that described what he was going to do to every rapper he stood across from. Lyrical punishment.
I'm not a player, I just crush a lot.
And if you've heard Capital Punishment from 1998, the debut that made him the first Latino rapper to go platinum as a solo artist, you know he delivered on both. But here's where this sits different from the others on this list.
Uptown, baby. Uptown.
The weight his name celebrated, the weight that made him big, that weight killed him. February 7th, 2000. Christopher Rios was 28 years old. Respiratory failure. The numbers from that era put him somewhere near 700 pounds. He built his identity around his physical size. He made it his power, and it became the thing that took him from us far too soon. Big Pun named himself, but the name carried a weight that went far beyond what anyone intended. Number 12, Eminem. Marshall Mathers had a problem with a candy company, and that problem changed his name, and that name changed everything. He was 14, growing up in Detroit, starting to rap with his friend Mike Ruby. They needed rap names. Ruby became Mannix, and Marshall, his initials were MM Marshall Mathers, so he went with Eminem. Simple, personal, connected to who he actually was. The only issue? Eminem is also one of the most famous candy brands on earth. Mars Incorporated wasn't exactly excited about a teenage rapper from Detroit building his identity on their trademark, so he respelled it, kept the sound exactly the same, the phonetic pronunciation of those two letters, but wrote it out as E-M-I-N-E-M.
I heard him say Haley's name on the song and I just lost it. It was crazy.
Eminem, not after the candy, after himself, but born from the accident of shared initials with a chocolate brand. Here's what gets me about this. He ran around Detroit for years as Eminem, battling at the hip-hop shop on West 7 Mile Road, going to open mics, sneaking into other high school lunchrooms just to rap. By the time the real Slim Shady hit in 2000, the whole world was saying his name.
Pissed off, I don't stop to think. We just inherited 50s beef with Murder Inc.
And they were technically saying a candy bar's name, just spelled different. Eminem, born from an accidental copyright conflict.
I ain't never supposed to show it. My crew ain't supposed to know it, even if it means going total.
Number 11, Jay-Z.
I keep them like mine, God forbid. Keep this in mind.
The billionaire, the CEO, the man who ran Def Jam, built Rockefeller, partnered with Rihanna, negotiated with presidents. The man Billboard and Vibe both named the greatest rapper of all time in 2023. His neighborhood called him Jazzy. That's it.
Shines everything that's mine.
Sean Carter grew up in the Marcy houses in Brooklyn, and the people around him noticed he was smooth, laid back, cool without trying. In his own words, when I was young, I was a cool, laid back little dude, so they called me Jazzy. Jazzy.
Just remember to turn the lights off in the hall, my brother from another pop.
When he connected with his mentor, older rapper Jazzo, in 1989, the name evolved. He shortened Jazzy to J, kept the Z as a nod to Jazzo, and around the same time, he had a connection to the J and Z subway lines that ran near his Brooklyn home.
Important lesson in life was when you said, strive for what you believe in, set goals and you can.
Three things that all happened to line up: a soft neighborhood nickname, a mentor's influence, and public transit. And it became the most powerful two syllables in the business. Think about that the next time you hear Empire State of Mind. The man who wrote it was once just the cool kid on the block they called Jazzy.
Bite your tongue for no one, and whatever it said, take it how they want.
Number 10, Q-Tip.
Wait up, my motto you heard, and I go to death ear to felonious words,
You want to talk about a name that describes how someone looks, and then watch that person become one of the most important artists of their generation? Jonathan Davis from Queens. Born 1970, he was tall, he was slender, and he had a distinctive round head that sat at the top of a thin frame in a very specific way. De La Soul's DJ Maceo looked at him one day and made a comparison.
And let me say a rhyme in your ear.
A cotton swab, a Q-tip. The Q ended up standing double duty. It was also a nod to Queens, his home borough, but the original inspiration, his physical appearance, specifically the way he looked like a household medical product.
So girls move it around. If you see your main dog, give your brother a pound and just
And that's what became his name. First as a high school nickname that traveled the New York scene, then as the official identity of one of the founding members of a tribe called Quest. Here's what I think about when I hear this. The man who made Can I Kick It and Award Tour and Scenario, the producer who helped define what conscious hip-hop could sound like. He got his name because someone looked at him and said, "You know what that reminds me of? A cotton swab. The ego, you need to hear that, and then go make the low-end theory." That's its own kind of genius. Number 9, Old Dirty Bastard.
Baby, I like it raw. Yeah, baby, I like it.
3 words, each one, on its own, an insult. Put them together, and you've got something mythology is made of. Russell Jones was from Brooklyn. He was RZA's cousin. When they were putting Wu-Tang Clan together in the early 90s,
Oh, baby, I like it raw. Yeah, baby, I like it.
every member needed a name that came from their connection to martial arts films, 5% teachings, or street identity. Russell's name came from a 1980 Chinese martial arts film called Old Dirty and the Bastard. Old Dirty Bastard.
Touch my skill. You gotta go to one killer bee, and he ain't for the kill now.
Think about that choice for a minute. This is a name that calls someone ancient, grimy, and without a father's name to claim. In most contexts, you'd use those words to tear someone down, but then Method Man gave the deepest explanation of what that name really meant.
Comes down on you like rock. By the dock.
And it wasn't about any of those individual words. He said, there ain't no father to his style. The bastard part wasn't about lineage. It was about the fact that what Russell Jones did on a mic had never been done before. No predecessor, no blueprint, no genre to trace it back to.
N.W.A. and any 52 states, I get psycho. Killer, Norman Bates.
He died November 13th, 2004. Drug overdose. But that voice, that half-rapped, half-sung chaos that had no father, is still the most singular thing hip-hop ever produced.
Tell 'em who the fuck I been. Other niggas who know.
Number 8, Busta Rhymes.
See how we making you black and the party up and keep the DJ bringing.
Let me tell you about a man who hated his own name for months before it made him a legend. Trevor Smith was 13 or 14 when he first encountered Chuck D of Public Enemy. This was around 1985, 1986 in the New York Underground.
Go back and I break your neck and the way you try to put it on the floor for me. Come on, come on, come on. Oh yeah, tell me.
Chuck D became something of a mentor, and when it came time for Trevor to pick a stage name, he had already handled that himself. He called himself Chillowski, and he loved it. I thought it was cool because, at the time, all of my favorites had 3-part rap names.
Get in again and make it just really wanna stop. Better tell your crew, your peeps, so much better put.
LL Cool J, the Fat Boys, Cool Rock Ski. That was the logic. That was the vibe. Chuck D stepped in. He told Trevor that watching him perform reminded him of a football player. The aggression, the animation, the way he physically inhabited every rhyme.
Hold me up as I come back. What we gonna do in 2002?
And there was an NFL wide receiver at the time named George Buster Rhymes. Chuck D said, "That's your name, Busta Rhymes." Trevor's response? I hated the name. He ran with it for 3 or 4 months just because Chuck D told him to.
Because bang your head till you break your mother. Let me.
Just let me give you real sweet.
Gradually, people in the scene started connecting to it. The name matched the energy he brought every single time. And eventually, Trevor stopped fighting it.
They troops on and gotta up your soldier. You know you better keep your boots on. All my people in the
The man who went on to record Woo-Ha Got You All in Check despised his own name the first time he heard it. And I'll let you decide whether Chuck D knew exactly what he was doing or got lucky.
as I come back. All over the track, man.
Number 7, Fat Joe. Joseph Cartagena grew up in the South Bronx. Forest houses, public housing on the Morrisania side, and if you know anything about how nicknames work on those blocks, you know they come from what people see, not what you want them to see. Joe was big. Everybody could see that. And so that's what they called him, Fat Joe. Now here's where this becomes more than just a name, because Fat Joe could have tried to hide behind something else. He could have picked something that didn't put his body in the title of every track. In 1992, when he started moving in this industry, being the guy whose name was a physical description wasn't exactly conventional wisdom, he made it his armor instead. Debut album Represent, 1993. Lead single Flo Jo hit number 1 on Billboard's Hot Rap Songs chart. Fat Joe Da Gangsta was the full original name. He eventually dropped Da Gangsta, just kept Fat Joe. And then watch this. The same man those blocks called Fat Joe
Know how we run the streets, I run the streets deep with no compassion.
Grew that name into Terror Squad, into signing Big Pun and Remy Ma and DJ Khaled, into Lean Back, going platinum, into a career that stretched across 3 decades. The name the South Bronx gave him in passing, he built a dynasty on it.
Our preflexes, 3 Texas in the G-Lexes, just in case police testers, street professors.
Number 6, Lil Wayne. I need you to know what Lil Wayne called himself before anyone was watching. Dwayne Carter Jr. grew up in Holly Grove, New Orleans, born 1982. He was small, he was short, and he was rapping by the time he was 8 years old. By 10 or 11, he was already in the orbit of Cash Money Records. But before all of that, before he ever signed a contract, before he ever recorded a verse that would matter, he chose his own first rap name, Shrimp Daddy. His own words in a 2011 N.W.A. interview, Pimp Daddy was a Cash Money artist, and he used to have this song out called Gots to Be Real. This guy was such a classic in New Orleans, so my actual first rap name was Shrimp Daddy. I named myself that because I was short, so I took the shrimp, and I wanted to be like this guy. He was a short kid from New Orleans who idolized a local rapper and named himself after a crustacean to honor him. From Shrimp Daddy to Baby D, his early Cash Money name, to Lil Wayne. Each name still carried the same truth. He was small, he was young, he was the littlest one in the room, and he went on to become the standard by which an entire generation measured technical skill on the mic. Number 5, Lil Kim. Kimberly Denise Jones, Brooklyn, born 1974. She was 5 feet tall. When she walked into the room, any room, the studio, the cypher, the street corner, she was the smallest person there.
Not you. Oh yes, who's he? I even dig your man's style, but I love your
And in the junior MAFIA crew, around the Notorious B.I.G. and the rest of those Brooklynites, the name came naturally. Lil Kim, Small Kim, the littlest one.
From the dealer, full-length chinchilla. Heat up the clutch.
And here's the part that sits with me. Lil in hip-hop is supposed to be a qualifier, a diminutive. It tells you this person is less than, younger than, smaller than. It's the name you put in front of someone to remind them of their place.
I know you heard me on the radio, but you still don't pay me no.
She took that name and made hardcore in 1996. She rewrote what female rappers were allowed to say, what they were allowed to look like, what they were allowed to demand from the industry. The Lil didn't stay little. Everything around that name got enormous.
He's a freak, got a different girl every day of the week. It's cool.
And whether you first heard Kimberly Jones in '95 on Junior Mafia's Conspiracy, or caught her verse somewhere in a late-night car ride, or are hearing this and already know exactly which lyric just played in your head, you know this. Nobody remembered the Lil once the music hit.
No malice, but you walk the street until your feet get callous. Take you on the
Number 4, Notorious B.I.G. Christopher Wallace chose his own name, and then someone took it from him, and the name he was forced into became more legendary than the one he picked. He grew up in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. Big kid. They called him Big on the block. When he started putting music together after getting out of jail in the early 90s, he built a demo tape under the name Biggie Smalls. The name came from a character in the 1975 film Let's Do It Again, a gang leader played by Calvin Lockhart. The name also matched his childhood nickname perfectly. The problem? Legal complications around that name were real. The name Biggie Smalls was already connected to the film's character, and there were issues that made the name untenable for a commercial career. He had to change it. The Notorious B.I.G. B.I.G. stood for business instead of game. He didn't choose it under the best circumstances. He was pushed into it, and that name, the one he arrived at because he had to, became the most sacred name in East Coast hip-hop history.
Baby, how you living, Biggie
Imagine Benzes giving.
Ready to Die, Life After Death, Juicy, Big Papa, Hypnotize. All of it carries the name he didn't originally want. Think about what you've lost by not having control over something, and then think about Christopher Wallace gaining the name that would outlive almost everything.
Me, sweetie, I got enough to feed the needy. No need to be greedy. I got mad friends with.
Number 3, MC Hammer.
Out of your seat and get a fire girl and catch this beat while it's rolling. Hold on.
Stanley Burrell was a kid from East Oakland, one of 7 children, poor, not in the program, definitely not supposed to be anywhere near a professional sports locker room, but there he was. 11 years old, selling stray baseballs and dancing in the parking lot outside the Oakland A's stadium. Oakland Coliseum. He was out there every game. Team owner Charlie Finley noticed him, brought him in.
You can't touch this.
Made him a bat boy and clubhouse assistant, and then one day, a visiting player, a man who had played alongside Hank Aaron, the legend known as Hammer and Hank, looked at young Stanley and made a comparison. Said this kid reminded him of Aaron, said he looked like him.
You can't touch this. Give me a song or rhythm, making them sweat. That's what I'm giving.
The Oakland players started calling him Little Hammer. Reggie Jackson helped it spread through the organization. Stanley even wore a jersey with Hammer on the back. Here's what makes this specific.
Slide your rump just for a minute. Let's all do the bump.
When Stanley Burrell eventually started his music career in the late 80s, he used borrowed money from some of those same Oakland A's players, including Reggie Jackson, to fund it. The people who named him also bankrolled him. He added MC, dropped Little, and became the biggest name in pop rap for a period of time in 1990.
Fresh new kicks and bands. You got it like that. Now you know you want to dance. So move.
The man behind You Can't Touch This, one of the best-selling rap singles in history, got his name from baseball players who said a poor kid from Oakland's parking lot looked like Hank Aaron. That part still doesn't sit right to me. Not because it's wrong, because it's that perfect.
You can't touch this. You better get hype, boy, because you know you can't touch this.
Number 2, Snoop Dogg.
I ain't holding nothing back, and once again I got 5 on the 20s. It's like that and that.
His mother never called him by his real name, not once, not in childhood, not at church, not when she was proud of him, not when she was worried about him. The only name Beverly Tate ever used for her son was Snoopy.
Rob you for your ends, then I kill you blood clots, and I step through the fog and I creep.
Cordozar Calvin Broadus Jr. grew up in Long Beach, California, watching Charlie Brown and the Peanuts cartoon. He loved it. He watched it so much that his mama looked at him one day and said exactly what she was thinking. You watch that Snoopy so much, you starting to look like him.
As a matter of fact, cause I never hesitate to put a fool on his back.
And that was it. That was the whole thing. She meant it as a gentle observation, maybe a little tease, the kind of thing a mama says when she's watching her kid become absorbed by something. She wasn't trying to give him a name that would outlast her. She was just being his mama. But Snoopy became who he was on the block, in school, in church, and when he started rapping, first as Snoop Rocksky, then borrowing Doggy Dog from his cousin Tate, the Snoop never left.
That's my name.
Beverly Tate passed in 2021, and Snoop said it himself in interviews. She never called him Cordozar, not once, his whole life. The name she gave him in a living room in Long Beach became the name the whole world said.
And pour the drink and watch your step. Cause doggy's on.
If this album was in your rotation at any point in the 90s, and you know which album I mean, drop it in the comments, because you already know what that music meant where you were from. Number 1, Ice Cube.
You better run a check.
O'Shea Jackson was 13 years old, growing up in South Central Los Angeles. His older brother Clyde was 9 years older, which means Clyde was 22, 23, coming and going, having a life. And young O'Shea had a habit. When Clyde's girlfriends called the house, O'Shea would pick up the phone. He'd try to talk to them, convince them to leave his brother, keep them on the line. He was 13. That's what 13-year-olds with older brothers do. One day, Clyde had enough. In O'Shea's own words from The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, back in those days when you wanted to throw out an old refrigerator, you'd dump it on the curb and someone would come pick it up. My brother was like, yo, that refrigerator down the street, I'm gonna take you down there, I'm slamming you in the freezer, and when they pull you out, you're gonna be an ice cube. That's it. That's the whole story. A brother, a phone, a girl he shouldn't have been talking to, and a freezer threat. O'Shea Jackson walked outside that day and told everyone he knew, don't call me O'Shea anymore. My name is Cube. That 13-year-old went on to join N.W.A. That same name is on one of the most critically acclaimed confrontational catalogs in the history of this music, Ice Cube. The most intimidating name in gangsta rap, born from a brother who was tired of sharing his girlfriend's phone number. That's not an irony. That's the whole story of this culture in one moment. Something small, something throwaway, something meant as a threat, becoming the foundation of a legacy that nobody could touch.
They running up in your slow. You're gone. Used to be the dime one.